This is CBC Nova Scotia News.
Better cancer care. How something the size of a grain of rice is helping patients across the province.
Comeback show. A Cape Breton singer-songwriter badly injured in a motorcycle crash prepares her return to the stage.
And under the sea, a new Halifax Marine Centre draws a big crowd.
Northwest winds ushering in a very chilly day for Tuesday, but temperatures recovering midweek. Your full forecast is coming up.
Good evening. It's gold, about the size of a grain of rice, and it's helping to provide better cancer care to patients across the province.
The Valley Regional Hospital in Kentville was one of the first hospitals to use what's known as the Molly device. Jane Sponigal tells us more about it.
That sound is what guides surgeons like Dr. Don Clark to a magnet placed inside a breast cancer tumor. The tumor can then be removed easily and completely.
If you look there, you're within 3 millimeters of the lesions.
The Magnetic Occult Lesion Localization Instrument, or MOLLI, is a Canadian invention that's making lumpectomies easier for breast cancer patients.
It's just more reliable that you get out the cancer, not as much tissue, and when you get that final pathology report back, and I'm waiting on pins and needles, so as a patient, they want to know that under the microscope, you have the whole lesion out. And I think there would be some studies that would confirm that it's more reliable.
It's also less invasive and has a shorter recovery time than the traditional method to mark a possible tumor, needle localization.
The downfall of needle localization has to be done the day of the procedure. It's more painful for a woman, and not infrequently that needle gets dislodged because they come from day surgery down to the radiology department, back to day surgery, to the holding area, then to the OR. And in that whole scheme of things, that needle can dislodge. And if it dislodges, the standard of care would be to abort the case, cancel the case, and retry it again to do it.
Instead, a needle loaded with a Molly magnet seed, about the size of a sesame seed or grain of rice, can be inserted into the tumor, and a patient could walk around with it for about 4 weeks before a procedure.
I just happened to feel a lump on my right breast.
Tara Morton is one of Dr. Clark's patients and was diagnosed with triple-negative breast cancer. Last December, she had a full mastectomy on her right breast. So in Morton's case, the magnetic seed was placed in a cancerous tumor in a lymph node in her armpit before she started chemotherapy and radiation. Molly helped Dr. Clark find that lymph node because it had shrunk so much.
But we also used the Molly to get the original cancer-positive lymph node, took it out. There's no more cancer left in it.
Wow.
I was really happy to tell her that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, that's incredible.
Yeah, it makes me, brings a tear to my eye. Yeah.
Morton had a preventative mastectomy this fall on her left breast. She says at this point, she's cancer-free.
At times I felt like I was on death's door with chemo. And then to have something like the Molly procedure, it was like a piece of cake. It was nothing. I didn't experience any pain with it being implanted. And then when I heard afterwards from Dr. Clark of, how successful the surgery went, how he didn't have to be as invasive, that just, that was a bonus, for sure.
Morton says she hopes others who have to follow a similar journey will have a positive experience and not be fearful. She says cancer is a battle, but can be won, sometimes with the tiniest weapons. Jane Sponigal, CBC News, Kentville.
Multiple fire departments spent most of the day battling a large fire at a fish plant in Cumberland County. Photos and video posted to social media show emergency services responding to the scene of the blaze at Aquashell Holdings, Inc. in the community of Wallace on the Northumberland Strait. The fire is now under control and everyone who is inside the facility has been accounted for. Power to around 460 homes in the area had to be cut as a precaution, and a comfort center has been set up at the Wallace Volunteers Fire Department Hall. No word on the cause of the blaze or the extent of the damage.
A water main break in the Waverley Road area has been fixed, but a boil water advisory is still in effect for some neighborhoods. According to Halifax Water, around 2,000 service connections are under the advisory. The utility did not say how long the order is expected to last. Water monitoring and testing is still underway. The cause of the break is unknown, but a spokesperson for the utility said factors such as the type of pipe and the weather could have contributed.
I thought I was like in a dream from what I was seeing. Like it just looked like there was a full-on river in the front of our house, and I'm like, isn't that our road? And it was like there was rapids. It got pretty intense, and so I went right into survival mode. I strapped on my big boots and I got out there.
Brenner and other neighbors got together to try to redirect the water so it wouldn't damage anyone's home.
Timberley Prospect MLA Ian Rankin has taken over as interim leader of the Nova Scotia Liberal Party. Rankin takes over for Sydney Member 2 MLA Derek Mombriquette. Last year, when Zach Churchill stepped down as leader of the party, it was announced that Mombriquette and Rankin would share duties until a leadership race is held. Mombriquette will now take on the duties of House Leader. Rankin previously served as leader of the Nova Scotia Liberal Party and Premier in 2021.
The federal government says it will open up permanent residency for foreign doctors working in Canada as temporary foreign residents. It's being done to help alleviate the doctor shortage across the country. Halifax West MP Lena Diab made the announcement today.
Today's announcement will open the door for eligible doctors who are already here to create or update their express entry profile now before we start sending invitations to apply in 2026. It signals to every doctor here temporarily that we value you and we want you to stay.
5,000 spots for international doctors will be opened over and above current immigration levels.
More than 40 civic signs have been provided to West Dalhousie residents in Nova Scotia's Annapolis Valley. It's part of a project led by multiple organizations to ensure visible signs are displayed on every property. This comes after the devastation the community endured from a wildfire this summer. The civic signs were installed by the Bridgetown Fire Department and Annapolis Ground Search and Rescue. The money for the signs was raised by volunteer firefighter Adrian Johnstone.
I'll check out these images from Sydney earlier today. Snow-covered roads and made for a messy day getting around. Plows were out in full force for the cleanup. In total, CBRM saw 10 to 15 centimeters, closing schools, government offices, and shutting down public transit.
And so what's next for us weather-wise? Here's Ryan Snoddon with that.
Yes, more cold, more snow?
More cold, taking a break from the snow, at least for the day tomorrow, for the most of the province tomorrow on Tuesday. But still some lingering flurries and maybe a squall for Inverness County. But these snow squall watches that are in effect are primarily in effect for tonight, Monday night. Pictou, Antigonish, Inverness, Victoria, Cape Breton County and Richmond County, all under the risk for a snow squall through this evening and into the overnight. And then again, conditions easing for Tuesday, but still certainly blustery. And those westerly winds that will be in place for tomorrow, first from the northwest, then west across Cape Breton, will continue to bring a bite to the air, no question about it. -5, -6 across Cape Breton, -3 to -5 across the mainland. And again, that wind chill is going to be biting. When we wake up on Tuesday morning, those wind chill values are still going to be in the -15 to 22, 23 range, easing into the afternoon, but still into the minus teens. We do have a warm up on the way, though, for Wednesday into Thursday. Some rain on tap. We'll talk about that coming up.
Right.
Stay tuned. Okay, thanks, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan. A singer-songwriter from Glace Bay will return to the stage in the new year after she was badly injured in a motorcycle crash. The crash forced her to put her career on hold. CBC's Kyle Moore reports.
Elise Aaron is home and looking forward to releasing her second album. Her life now, though, looks much different than it did just 3 months ago.
I don't remember anything about that night, which drives me a little bit crazy.
That night, Aaron was riding her motorcycle when she collided with a car. She was airlifted to Halifax and suffered serious injuries.
I had a broken left humerus, so now I've got a rod shoulder to elbow here, and a broken right ankle, multiple facial fractures, including my jaw, which made getting back to singing a little bit difficult. And of course, a concussion when you get a blow to the head like that.
Erin has been a rising star in the music scene. She was named Music Nova Scotia's Entertainer of the Year last year. The crash has taken its toll on someone that is used to being busy.
It's been weird to just have things go from 60 to 0 in an instant, and need to slow down and not be able to be go, go, go. It's been a hard adjustment for me, mentally, for sure.
The support she's received through all of this has been overwhelming for Erin, who is now planning a comeback show and album release in February at the Members Who Trade and Convention Centre.
Knowing that made me feel that what I'm doing is worth it. It means something, and I am connecting with people, and that's the dream right there.
Erin says she can't wait to get back in front of fans that have supported her through a tough time, and says she'll be ready.
I'm really excited to have these milestones on the calendar because, you know, like I said, my life was so different these last few months. I'm excited to have something to work towards and look forward to again.
Just give me some permission to give up the
Kyle Moore, CBC News, Glace Bay.
People relying on Halifax's public transit Saturday nights in December will be happy to learn their ride is now free. The free Halifax Transit bus and ferry rides are a way to promote safe celebrations and reduce impaired driving incidents during the month. The free rides will start at 6 p.m. and run until the end of the service. The initiative is being supported by the NSLC. It is the fourth year the corporation has offered the program.
We know that people are out and about during the holidays, especially during the holidays. There's extra celebrations, and we just want to make sure that we're encouraging people to find a safe ride home during these moments of celebration and to consume responsibly if they're choosing to consume the products that we sell.
Last year, close to 60,000 passengers participated.
Wildlife Rehab is in the process of getting the province's first black bear cub rehabilitation center up and running. Staff at Hope for Wildlife say they expect it to be open by spring in a remote area of Cape Breton. The group will welcome a modest number of orphan cubs each year. The Department of Natural Resources will make the final decision on when the cubs will be released back into the wild.
More than 100 years ago and this past weekend, an explosion in the Halifax harbor killed nearly 2,000 people and injured 9,000 others. On Saturday, hundreds marked the tragedy in a ceremony at Fort Needham Memorial Park. The park directly overlooks the harbor location where the explosion was ignited. On the morning of December 6, 1917, the Mont Blanc, a French munitions ship, and the Imo, a Norwegian steamship carrying Belgian relief supplies, collided. The Beatty Centre for Marine Biodiversity in Halifax opened its doors to the public on Saturday after some delays.
The centre has 30 exhibits and multiple live animals, all species that live in our waters. The CBC's Juliana Grillo went to the opening.
The Beatty Centre for Marine Biodiversity has been in the works for a number of years. It's a collaboration between Dalhousie University and Discovery Centre International, and we're really pleased to be open here today for our visitors. It's a collection of 30 exhibits, some of which are aquariums, so live species from Atlantic Canada, and then the rest are interactive exhibits, hands-on, minds-on exhibits, a lot of video and a theatre, so lots of opportunity for families to interact with the ocean, but also experience just the wonderful, thoughtful education that we've brought here today.
The aquariums downstairs, they go through 7 depths of our oceans. So yes, we have 7 aquariums. The first one is an intertidal aquarium, and then we highlight the seagrass meadows that are a super important ecosystem here in Nova Scotia. And then we go to the invasive species that's right next to the seagrass meadows to show how they actually affect those seagrasses, and then so on and so on. And finishing off with the deep sea ecosystem there. And then upstairs we kind of highlight more local research, common problems that we have now like overfishing, climate change, pollution, and kind of putting things into a more tangible sense for people to see.
This center is very close to my school, so I am going to ask my teachers if we can maybe go on a field trip someday.
That'd be a fun field trip, and snowy down on the Halifax waterfront today. Ryan is up next with the full weather forecast. Stay with us.
This weather update is brought to you in part by Atlantic Lottery's iGames. Play hundreds of games on the Atlantic Lottery app or at alc.ca.
All right, our eagle-eyed viewers will realize we made a slight change to the program there. The winter sting is back.
Can I voice my objection? You're pushing it
too early.
Too
too early
soon.
for you.
When we were trying to make the decision today about whether to change the sting, when the weather begins, fall pictures to change it to winter pictures. There was some, booze being held from Amy down the next to me there saying, "Oh, don't do it yet."
But you won out in the end.
I say if you do this, then you get to do spring early as well.
Let's hope. Let's hope.
In March? Okay,
yeah.
is that what we're thinking about?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not officially winter, of course, which Amy was making the good point. But,
Feels like it.
It
looks like it.
certainly
Yeah, it
looks
does.
and feels like it across most of the province right now. Have a look at our temperatures. It is very cold, minus double digits. Halifax up towards Amherst, -6 to -8 in through the Tri-County area, -4 to -5 in through eastern areas, Guysborough County into Cape Breton. you could see the winds on the map here are strong. 20, 30, 40 kilometers per hour, Grand Etang and Westport gusting 50, 60 kilometers per hour for coastal areas, gusting 40 to 50 inland, and the wind chill values certainly into the minus teens, even now already feeling minus 20 in Amherst. Those winds have been firing up the old snow squall machine, and yeah, those snow squalls are going to continue through this evening and the overnight. We're looking at local amounts possibly up to 10 to 20 centimeters here in Inverness into Victoria County, especially the Highlands. Could see 5 to 10 centimeters locally. Additional totals here in through Pictou and Antigonish County as well. Lesser amounts down towards Sydney, Richmond, but if a snow squall does come through, park over your backyard for a time. Definitely locally higher totals here. And again, it is going to be likely Inverness County that sees the bulk of the action. Pretty solid snow squall right now blowing in across places like Port Hood, down towards Judik, and into the Port Hawkesbury area, and looks like less organized, but certainly some onshore flurries blowing in Inverness. And the blowing snow obviously has been a factor all day in Cape Breton, will continue to be a factor. Small little squall there blowing in through into Pictou County as well. Looks like Colchester into Pictou County, and some flurries in across parts of the mainland as well. This is the system that's moving out. The cold air is moving in, and have a look at how cold Canada looks right now as a whole, right? Vancouver's at 11, Calgary's at 5, but the cold air is sweeping right down into the Great Lakes, and it's certainly it's arrived. And for tonight, temperatures are going to drop between minus 10 and minus 14. We don't have far to fall now. We're already very cold out there. Minus 8 in through Cape Breton. This model doing a pretty good job of where that persistent band has been over the last hour or two. Onshore flurries continue overnight. The mainland pretty quiet for tomorrow morning, though note the winds. These are the gusts, so still gusting 20, 30, 40 kilometers per hour across the mainland tomorrow morning. Still gusting 40, 50, even 60 and 70 not out of the question early in the morning for Tuesday for Inverness County, and then backing off with some gusts 40 to 50 into the afternoon for Cape Breton. The mainland, lighter winds from the west to southwest as the winds will become a little more southwesterly late day tomorrow. Temperatures minus 3 to minus 5 for our highs across the mainland, and minus 5 to minus 6 in through Cape Breton. Those wind chill values tomorrow morning, minus 15 to minus 22, minus 23. Little bit milder down towards, or not quite as much of a bite down towards Yarmouth and Shelburne. And we're firmly into the minus double digits and teens throughout the day tomorrow. Wednesday, the wind shift to southerly. Temperatures for the most part into the 1 to 4 range. It looks like near the freezing marker just above. Amherst back towards Kentville and Greenwood, as we will see here Wednesday, this little bit of snow coming in on the leading edge of this. Could see some light localized accumulation, especially the valley into the Colchester and Cumberland areas on Wednesday. Then a change over to some showers, and here comes the center of the low, which will bring some accumulating snow to New Brunswick, but this looks like, yes, rain for Nova Scotia. 10, maybe 20 millimeters along the south shore and into the eastern shore regions. We'll keep you posted on that. And the warm up won't last long. From 6 to 8 degrees on Thursday, back down below the freezing mark Friday into Saturday, and keeping my eye on late Sunday into Monday. Lots of uncertainty there, but watching it. Tom.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I bet you are. Okay, thanks so much, Ryan.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.
Agricultural groups on PEI are raising concerns around cuts to programs announced in the recent federal budget.
One of the programs reported to be shutting down is Living Labs. It started as a pilot program on the island and has expanded across Canada, including here in Nova Scotia. Nancy Russell reports.
Farm groups on PEI say they're worried about recent cuts to Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada. Like other departments, it will have to cut 15% of its spending. But it was the announcement of the end of the Living Labs program that is attracting a lot of attention on PEI. It's a partnership between farmers, scientists, watershed groups, and others, and started as a pilot project here on the island.
The Living Labs model worked very well here, continues to work very well here. We've learned a lot about agriculture on Prince Edward Island, and as such, it was very disappointing to hear that it won't be continuing.
A second round of living labs on PEI was announced in 2023. The PEI Federation of Agriculture doesn't want that research to be put in jeopardy.
The current version is deeply invested in mixing cattle production and potato production, and that's critical for the future of Prince Edward Island agriculture. I think it would be foolhardy for the government to cease the program or the project here on PEI immediately. I think it would be much more reasonable to let it at least complete to the end of the agreement.
But it's not just the living labs that has farming groups worried. They say the work done by Agriculture Canada researchers is important.
We're very vulnerable to pests, especially to diseases and insects, and certainly to the changing weather.
Donald says there is a role for private investment, which he says is already happening here on PEI through companies like Cavendish Farms. But he says the Agriculture Canada research needs to be maintained.
It's not a cost, it's rather an investment.
Donald says it was good to see agriculture recognized in the federal budget as a strategic industry, but the groups say Canada risks falling behind.
The United States spends 3 times what we do on research and development, and China spends 5 times what we do on research and development.
In a statement to CBC, a spokesperson for Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada says some programs like Living Labs will wind down, and there will be more information on budget reductions to come. Nancy Russell, CBC News, Charlottetown.
Coming up, human trafficking data. Numbers from Stats Canada show Nova Scotia ranks high in annual rates of human trafficking. The latest data from Stats Canada on human trafficking is out, and Nova Scotia has a dubious distinction. Halifax has the second highest average annual rate of human trafficking in the country after Thunder Bay. That's 6.4 people for every 100,000 people. And the trend has been upward as of last year. MP Sergeant Jeff McFarlane has experience in investigating these cases. Sir, what should people be taking away from these numbers?
Well, this is a number we've seen in Nova Scotia for quite a while now, and it's we get questions about it all the time. Why is Nova Scotia higher than anywhere else in the region, or in the country, I should say? And, there's a lot of different answers for that. On the surface, we could assume that it's because there just simply are more people being victimized in this province. But the reality is we look at it a little differently. We've been a dedicated human trafficking unit here in the province for over 5 years. And because of that, we've been able to grow awareness where other provinces may have not done the same amount of effort in that in regards to human trafficking. So, it comes down to a lot of things. Education, we really spend a lot of time getting out into the public, letting everyone know what the realities of human trafficking are, the indicators of victimization, and most importantly for us, the lines for reporting. So we believe that in Nova Scotia, we have a connection with the public and the people that are victimized in these crimes, that they feel that they can call us maybe more than they can in other areas. Now you're seeing increases all across the country. You'll see massive increases, like 600% increase in human trafficking cases in a year. And a lot of that comes down to the creation of a new unit and a new focus on the type of investigation and the victims who are suffering from these crimes.
Okay, and a lot of times we know there's a problem in Halifax. It gets reported quite frequently. What about the rest of the province and Cape Breton in particular?
Sure. So just generally speaking, from coast to coast, metropolis areas are more affected with these kind of crimes, and the statistics show that. So Halifax, as our largest city, certainly has more cases than anywhere else in the province. Places like Cape Breton, also, of course, Sydney and the surrounding area up there, there are a significant amount of instances, obviously more than we would like to be seeing in any area, but it generally feeds into metropolis areas for a lot of reasons. It can be related to the corridors and the traffic of people coming and going in and out of these larger, more central areas, but also connections to ports can have something to do with it as well. So it's not to say that it doesn't happen in smaller areas of the province or the country. It certainly does. It's just a numbers game. And frankly, for the amount of people that are in larger centers, there's more clientele and more people interested in obtaining the services of someone who's in the sex trade.
So how is this trafficking happening? I mean, what is the profile of the victim or the human trafficker, if there is such a thing? How do you make people understand the dynamics at play that make this something that's happened as frequently as it is?
Mm-hmm. So what a lot of people don't know is that the law has changed over the last many years, that if somebody chooses to work in the sex trade on their own and no one's forcing them to do it, and they decide to make money because it's that under their own accord, they're allowed to do that. They're immune from prosecution under the law. What we're going after is the people who are purchasing sex, and most importantly of all, the people that are forcing those to enter into the sex trade, which you would call human traffickers. So for those people, the ones who are exploiting women, girls, men, and boys from coast to coast, it comes down to a lot of different methods. We see a lot of intimate relationships that form, and these connections where the person ends up being exploited in the end, they often begin with an intimate partnership. For the victim may actually see this person as their boyfriend, even while they're being trafficked, and they may not even realize that they're being victimized. So a lot of it comes down to exploiting things that people are in need of. And, traffickers prey on that sort of thing. So it can be a loneliness, a romance thing. It can be money. Of course, it can be drugs as well. And they prey on those gaps and try to become what it is that person's missing, so that they're in agreement to go along with what the trafficker ultimately wants them to do.
And ultimately, are these people being trafficked locally, or is this happening? Are they being sent around the world? What can you say about that element?
It's a good question, and there's no complete answer. There's cases in Nova Scotia where it's a one victim and one trafficker, and then there's cases where there's organized groups that are involved in trafficking numerous people, and certainly they do travel. We have certainly a amount of clientele, I guess we'll say, in this area that are interested in purchasing sex in all areas of the province. But again, it comes down to population. So there's certainly a larger market in areas like Toronto or Montreal or Vancouver or wherever, larger centers. And because of that, often the people that are originally recruited from Nova Scotia could end up in other provinces where they'll be working under the direction of and the coercion of the trafficker.
And so what more needs to be done to combat this?
Well, every year we think we're getting a clearer picture of exactly what's going on. But as we develop with our investigative techniques and strategies, and we share information with all the police departments across the country, trying to get a handle on what's going on, the traffickers are also developing and growing in their techniques of recruiting and also staying under the radar. So a big thing for us in our unit, especially here in Nova Scotia, we want to have an open door relationship with sex trade workers and people that are being victimized of human trafficking. And what I mean by that is we want them to know they can call us and they can speak to one of our investigators. It doesn't mean it has to go to court. It doesn't mean someone has to be arrested. Our main goal is to get these people the help they need to move on to the next stage of their life. And a lot of that comes down with an initial call with us and us relaying the information to the many non-government organizations around the province that provide support for housing and food and finances and all the things that the people need to move on from this exploitation. So the answer is it's not as simple as one trick to put an end to this issue, but it's something that's constantly developing and really comes down to partnerships with agencies in and out of Nova Scotia.
Well, really appreciate you shining a light on it today, RCMP Sergeant Jeff McFarland. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Coming up, the future of Bill C-9. The anti-hate bill has been stalled after Sean Fraser brokered a deal with the Bloc Québécois.
And Air Transat braces for turbulence. The airline suspends flights ahead of a looming pilot strike. Welcome back. A key piece of Liberal legislation has hit a major snag. CBC News has learned the Justice Minister brokered a deal to pass their Combating Hate Act.
Without the approval of the Prime Minister's office, making its future unclear. Kate McKenna has the details.
Canada's Justice Minister is in the hot seat.
Mr. Speaker, this particular bill, since inception, was designed to combat hate in this country.
Sean Fraser's anti-hate bill C9 is potentially in limbo because of a deal gone sideways. The bill seeks to crack down on hate, making it illegal to promote hatred against identifiable groups and illegal to intimidate people outside places of worship.
I look forward to collaborating with all parties in a minority parliament, and I will look forward very much to the recommendations from the Justice Committee as they consider potential amendments to the current bill.
The bill needs another party's support to pass. The Bloc Québécois says they made a deal with the Liberals for support. In exchange, the law would be amended to remove a religious exemption from hate speech laws. The Bloc has long sought to remove the religious exemption, saying religion could be used as a cover for promoting hate, such as homophobia and anti-Semitism.
When you have a deal with a minister, that minister represents the government, and you should normally be safe with it.
But sources say Fraser's office didn't get buy-in from the Prime Minister, putting any deal to pass the legislation on hold.
I think the Liberals have been hearing the millions of Canadians that they've alienated with this agreement to erode long-standing religious protections that will inevitably infringe on people's right to practice their faith.
Some faith communities fear removing the religious exemption could lead to some scripture essentially being criminalized.
If we were going down that particular route, then you're going to be prosecuting religious leaders in every mosque, in every church, in every synagogue.
The bill was on track to pass through committee by the holidays, a key step on the way to becoming law. But the House of Commons is set to adjourn until late January later this week, meaning the bill could be pushed to next year. Kate McKenna, CBC News, Ottawa.
Travelers taking Air Transat might see their holiday plans facing some turbulence. Pilots for that airline could be on strike by Wednesday, and that could leave some passengers without a way home. Anissa Derry reports.
Air Transat could face a strike soon. Passengers are already thinking about it.
I brought my book, my computer with me. If I'm going to stuck there, I can have my exam on my computer.
This is just one of the hiccups, so we'll deal with it.
We'll come back on the next Monday. And yeah, we hope can come back on time, safe.
As Monday began, no major cancellations, but the company is preparing. It's adding extra flights to bring Canadians home early, all in case there's no deal. About 750 pilots often fly thousands of people a day on Air Transat, mostly to international destinations. It's hard to say where negotiations are at right now. The company says it's offering a big wage increase. The union disagrees.
Overall, the 59% average does stand, and we stand by that. We believe that it is the offer that we have on the table. That's what we presented.
If we had 59% on the table from the company, we'd be taking it to our members. It would be irresponsible not to. So I'm not going to get into what's on the table.
This is just the latest example of tension over how much Canadian pilots are paid. Last year, Air Canada pilots won big wage increases after threatening to strike, and more pay for WestJet pilots after similar moves both last year and the year before. Plus, foreign airlines may be upping wage expectations.
There's a recognition that there's a shortage of pilots in Canada, so we've got to step up to the plate and pay them well.
The last contract and its wages were set more than 10 years ago.
But you've also got crews who are seeing aircraft that are full, and they're expecting the airline to be making money, and they are naturally going to want to see some of that success in their paycheck.
While both the union and the company say they are still negotiating, the clock is ticking. Pilots could be off the job by Wednesday morning. Anissa Derry, CBC News, Calgary.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says he plans to share a revised peace plan with U.S. officials. And he expects another meeting of the Coalition of the Willing, that includes Canada, next week. It comes as he meets with European allies to negotiate better terms for the U.S.-led proposal, which favors Russia and includes giving up Ukrainian territory. Crystal Gamansing reports.
You read the peace plan, Mr. President? Hello, sir. Can this plan work for Ukraine, Mr. Zelensky?
Questions were shouted at all of the leaders when they arrived here at 10 Downing and again when they left. They didn't respond, but they did share some initial thoughts when they were inside before the closed-door meeting began.
I think unity between Europe and Ukraine, and also unity between Europe, Ukraine and the United States. There are some things which we can't manage without Americans.
We stand with Ukraine, and if there's to be a ceasefire, it needs to be a just and lasting ceasefire.
Now I think the main issue is a convergence between our common positions, Europeans and Ukrainians, and the US to finalize these peace negotiations.
I'm skeptical about some of the details which we are seeing in the documents coming from the US side, but we have to talk about that. That's why we are here. Thank you for your invitation.
Now, there we did hear from German Chancellor Friedrich Merz talking about some concerning documents. It's unclear if he's talking about that initial American peace plan that was leaked to the media several weeks ago, or if he's talking about U.S. President Donald Trump's national security strategy. That document is raising the ire of some European leaders. It says, in part, that it is far from obvious whether certain European countries will have economies and militaries strong enough to remain reliable allies. Now, the president of the European Council, Antonio Costa, is saying it's no longer clear that the U.S. and Europe share a vision for international order. The U.S. president has told NATO countries that they shouldn't rely on the U.S. as their sole defenders. President Zelensky was the last to leave here, but he did share some remarks on social media, posting his gratitude to the leaders of the UK, France, and Germany, saying that security is always a shared challenge and a shared effort. Crystal Gamansing, CBC News, London.
Syrians are marking 1 year since rebel forces toppled the brutal government of Bashar al-Assad. The country's new government is calling it the inaugural Liberation Day. And after 13 years of war, it's being celebrated as a new era, with many of the hundreds of thousands of Syrians who fled the fighting now returning home to help rebuild their nation. The CBC's Briar Stewart has more.
This is the Oncupanar border crossing between Turkey and Syria, and these trucks are getting ready to head back into Syria. They are loaded up with the belongings of families who have been living for years in Turkey and are now heading back home. Now, after the beginning of the war in Syria, more than 3 million refugees came to Turkey, first living in tents, then they settled in cities all across the country. And over the past year, since the fall of the Bashar al-Assad regime, Turkey says that more than 500,000 Syrians have returned back home. There are many other Syrians who would like to return home, but they say now is not the time because the communities aren't really livable. We obviously know that there was a lot of destruction during the war. It will take time for infrastructure to be rebuilt, for houses to be built. There are some areas still without electricity. Now, the issue of the Syrian refugees here does remain a political one in Turkey. Some people believe that the Syrians have made the economy even worse, raised the cost of rent. But at the same time, we did hear from Syrians that said they were very well treated here. They were able to settle into communities, to integrate, learn Turkish. The government says it's not putting pressure on anyone to leave, that the return program right now is voluntary, though they're certainly providing assistance, help with transportation, help with legal issues, if there are documents or paperwork that people are missing that they need to secure before making the trip. As I said, more than 500,000 have already returned to Syria, and many others are hoping to go, but they're just waiting to see when the right time is and when they'll be able to go back and live in their communities for good. Briar Stewart, CBC News, along the Oncupanar border crossing between Turkey and Syria.
There's more trouble for one of the world's most famous museums. The Louvre in France says a water leak has damaged hundreds of works in its Egyptian section. Officials report up to 400 items, mostly books, are now water damaged after a valve in an aging ventilation system burst unexpectedly. The leak comes after a gallery of Greek vases was closed due to structural weakness in November, and just weeks after a $100 million high-value jewelry heist.
A teen social media ban begins later this week in Australia, but major platforms are already shutting down thousands of accounts of users under 16. As Deanna Sumanak-Johnson tells us, it's aimed at protecting children online, and some people think Canada could follow suit.
It's been an emotional few days for many Australian teens as Meta started shutting down 500,000 Instagram and Facebook accounts for people under 16.
For me, it was my community and my lifeline.
Australia is bringing in the world's first teen social media ban, with companies facing multi-million-dollar fines if they don't take reasonable steps to comply. Australia's initial list of platforms includes 10 well-known sites. Each will decide how it confirms ages, with options like video verification or submitting government-issued ID. This tech analyst says Australia is a litmus test for the rest of the world.
If Australia can pull it off, you can bet that Canada is going to be pushing a similar agenda here at some point in the new year.
So do you know when Australia is implementing the...
Jenny Perez would like Canada to heed Australia's example. Perez is a founder of Unplugged Canada, advocating for limits to children's access to social media.
Australia leading this international movement is giving hope to everybody. Many parents felt defeated. They felt that it was too late to change. It was too late to change the norm.
But others argue that an outright ban might make social media more enticing.
I think we're at risk of creating a bit of a forbidden fruit aspect to social media.
Even among teens, there's no consensus.
Like they're on screens a lot, like younger kids, and I feel like it's not really good for them.
I use social media a lot for like sports. A lot of coaches can like find you and scout you through Instagram and stuff.
The Trudeau government tried to put some guardrails on social media companies with a controversial online harms bill, but it never passed after concerns over free speech. A spokesperson for the federal justice minister says they hope to bring an updated bill before the end of the year with measures to combat extortion, sexual exploitation, and deepfakes. But they did not say how it would address social media. Deanna Sumanak-Johnson, CBC News, Toronto.
This weather update is brought to you in part by Atlantic Lottery's iGames. Play hundreds of games on the Atlantic Lottery app or at alc.ca.
All right, should we take a bet? Is it going to be a snow picture tonight for Ryan's pick? What do you think?
There's a lot of it to go around.
Yeah, very good bet. Have a look at tonight's picture. We had a few to choose from, but this is a beautiful one, I think we'll all agree, from Salt Springs, Pictou County.
Pretty, isn't it?
Very nice.
Yes. Big thank you to Wendy for sharing this. Lovely, lovely scene if you're not standing out in it. Because the wind was a little gusty today, of course, and thanks to Wendy for this. Ryan's picks at cbc.ca. Still a snow squall watch in effect for Pictou, Antigonish, and Cape Breton. Those winds tonight, plus the snow, obviously, and just lining up perfectly with that west to northwest flow to blow in some of those snow squalls. Snowfall outlooks tonight through Tuesday. You can see where most of the action is going to be across Inverness County, where we could see 10 to 20 centimeters of snow. And we are looking at a calmer day for tomorrow. The wind's actually becoming southwest late day, west to southwest late day, as we'll be seeing that next air mass coming in. But a northwest wind in the morning for Cape Breton and the North Shore, still early on anyway, gusting 50 to 70, and then we'll taper off to a westerly. There is the wind chill outlook tomorrow morning. Yes, frigid for sure, and into the afternoon we'll see some relief, but still minus double digit, minus teens in terms of that feel out there. Now note that low moving out, we've got an area of high pressure moving in, so that's what will bring us the sunshine. And then we've got a little wave coming in that'll bring us a little bit of flurry action for Wednesday morning. Could see some light accumulation towards the northwest of the province, and then green, and yes, that is rain. For the most part, the heaviest rain's looking set to track offshore, but could see some heavier amounts along the Atlantic coastline. Back to the cold Friday into the weekend.
Up and down we go. Okay, thanks so much, Ryan. Well, for anyone who thinks they might go a little overboard decorating for the holidays, here's something to make you feel better. Good heavens.
This house in Germany has been decorated with a record of 621 indoor Christmas trees. They are everywhere, including in the bathroom.
Oh boy. The couple behind all this are no strangers to setting this record. They've done it on 6 previous occasions.
That's passion.
Not a lot of room to move there.
Yeah.
That's it for us tonight. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Good night.
Good night.